When people think of art school, they usually imagine drawing all day in a cozy studio. But today, I want to talk about what the workload actually looked like for me, both the good and the bad. Hello, loves. My name is Maya, and welcome to my canvas. For context, this is just my personal experience as an art school graduate. Every school is different, and this isn't meant to make art schools sound or look bad. This is just pure honesty. Okay, let's get into it. Late nights. There's just something different about staying up late to do art for fun versus staying up late to do art for a grade you're paying for. When you go to art school, go ahead and bring a blanket and a sleeping bag because you'll basically be living in your classroom. I went to art school for animation and visual arts, and let me tell you, everyone would look like a hot mess, but those projects would be coming out immaculate. Sometimes. My school had two separate buildings, one for animation and one for visual arts, typography, classes, bookbinding, sculpting, etc. With that being said, our two buildings were the ones that were allowed to have art students to have access to the buildings after campus closing time. The reason this access was given to us was that, just like any art project, a 1-hour class during the day was not enough time to actually finish your work, because 30 minutes of class was spent being taught by your teacher, and the other 30 minutes was spent brainstorming your project idea or getting started. At first, I thought it was cool to have access after hours to use the facility for projects, but it turned into half a nightmare because I realized there were also 80 plus other students using the facility at the same time as me. And sometimes space and computers were limited. You'd have to get there first and camp for a spot, or have an awesome art bestie hold a computer for you until you got there at night to get to work on your assignment. But late nights at art school were normal. It was normal to work next to someone till 10 p.m. at night, leave, and come back in the morning to see the same student sleeping at the computer overnight to watch over their render. It was also normal to see animation students bring blankets to class, not to be trendy, but because they were planning to pull an all-nighter for a project. But remembering those sleepless nights with other students felt like a fever dream. On to the next topic. Animation classes were no joke. I learned animation for the first time at school, and I was shocked by how much time it actually took to make a 3-minute frame-by-frame cartoon intro. My school had to start with one class in 2D animation, and the rest of the curriculum was solely 3D animation in the program Maya. It was funny hearing people yell their frustration with the Maya 3D program when Maya is my actual name. Moving on, when it came to finishing animation homework, others came to the conclusion, even myself, that as long as it was finished and met the time requirements, it was good enough for us. Sadly, polishing animations was very low on the priority list because when you're making animations for art school, they give you about 2 to 3 weeks to complete one animation project at a time. At first, I thought this would be plenty of time to get animations done, but I forgot to factor in other art classes that also had projects due around the same time. Plus, I had regular class homework due, like English homework and math homework, and etc. So when I pulled my 6 to 8 classes all together, I actually had less time to make a decent animation than I thought, which connects back into spending the night in the animation room because you spent the first half of the night finishing other homework assignments. Needless to say, animation classes messed up my sleeping schedule and were no good for my mental state either. In my personal experience, it was really, really stressful, especially when I was trying to juggle all my other past classes and paths. Next, group projects need to be banned in art school. And I'm like 10% joking and 90% serious when I say this. Funny enough, in my entire 5 years of art school, I only had one animation group project, and I'm very grateful it was my only one. Group projects in grade school were rough, but at least everyone had the same schedule. In art school, yeah, you're in the same class, but outside of that, everyone's schedule is completely different. Plus, other students had jobs. I also had a job while I was in art school too, so juggling people's class schedules wasn't always the issue sometimes. Sometimes jobs got in the way of meeting up to complete things. My art school group project went like this. Our group had 5 people, and the assignment was to create an original cartoon intro. Think SpongeBob or something like Adventure Time. Just coming up with the idea took forever. We eventually settled on a regular show style spinoff, and at first everything seemed fine until it was time to split the work. We finally figured out that 2 people handled character design, one did line art, one animated the title, and I was in charge of backgrounds. And I had 4 backgrounds to design for this project. A few days in, I checked in with everyone, and that's when I realized most of the group was nowhere near done with their assignments. We only had a few days left to turn this thing in, so I asked everyone to meet up and let's get together to catch up and see where everybody is at. One of the character designers showed up, but no one else did. I had the number of 2 of the other group members and I FaceTimed them to see what was going on and where they were at, and they were FaceTiming me at a restaurant. Not a restaurant to pick up food to go and bring it to the meetup, but more so to sit down and enjoy their food there. Not grabbing food to go, but sitting down. Listen, we were college students and I get it. Food is important. But when we had things to turn in and grades to get to pass so we don't have to repeat another animation or drawing class again, this was pretty important. And I already picked up my food to be ready for this meetup. So it was just kind of mind-boggling to me that they decided, oh yeah, let me go have a sit-down dinner before we come and finish this project. And at that moment, I knew the project was just completely cooked. Long story short, the other character designer and I did what we could. But the final project was absolutely rough. The only upside was that we were allowed to honestly, and I mean honestly, evaluate each other's contributions, so the grades were actually pretty fair. That project taught me how to recognize other artists' skill sets, but more importantly, it taught me how to set boundaries around workloads with other people. And on our last but not least topic, art school workload is hard, but it was pretty worth it. Even though the workload was intense, it did teach me things I still use today. Art school workload taught me how to work under pressure, whether it was dealing with others in a group project or juggling multiple art assignments at a time. I kept my cool and kept pushing through to turn something in, even if I had to cry it out, which some nights were that bad. Art school taught me to actually finish projects. After I graduated, I realized it is hard sometimes to push myself to finish even my personal projects on my own. But art school did condition me to always show up and turn something in, even if it's not complete. And over time, I found myself getting better at completing projects. The workload at art school is a lot, but going really does teach you time management skills that even I still use, and I think it can be very helpful for anyone else that's either already in art school or planning to do so. If you've been to art school, what surprised you the most about the workload? Let me know down below. In the next video, I want to talk about art classes themselves. I had some pretty good teachers and I had bad ones, and how critiques actually felt being an art student. Well, if you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. I look forward to welcoming you to my canvas. God bless and have an awesome day.